You're watching free content from Digital Tutors, the world's largest CG training library. Enjoy the tutorial and visit Digital-Tutors.com to find thousands of videos streaming in HD.
In this lesson, we'll walk through a few things to consider when learning how to use the interactive features that InDesign offers. Alright, so I've got the InDesign interface open here. We're going to start with an empty interface. So let's talk about the options for outputting our files from InDesign. Maybe you're a print designer and this is your first time to work on an interactive document. Well, interactive documents we make here in InDesign are going to be intended to be displayed on a computer screen, much like the one that you're looking at right now. So how does InDesign tell whether a document is intended to go to a printer or to be displayed on a monitor? Well, it does that through document intent, and we can find that under the new document dialog. So let me just open this up here, and you can see here we have the intent for the document, and right now it's set to print. Now if we drop that down, we can set that over to web, and some changes happen down here. Right now I have mine set to points and picas as a unit of measure, but if I change this over to web, notice what happens. Everything switches over to pixels, and my page size switches over to these resolution options here. You can see here the 800 by 600 option is the default, but we can come in here and choose any resolution that we want to, that we're wanting to design as our page size. So let me cancel this out. I want to show you one other thing. By default here, all the swatches in my swatch panel are going to be CMYK swatches: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Now those swatches are intended to go to a printer because those are the colors that load into the printer. So if we come over here and switch this over to a document that's intended to be viewed on a screen, so we'll just leave these alone, leave those at the default and hit OK. Notice what happens here. All those CMYK swatches get converted into RGB colors. Now these RGB colors are going to display much better on a computer monitor than the CMY colors, or the CMYK colors rather. So that's one of the things that happens when we change our document intent. Now, one last thing to look at here in terms of document intent is the transparency blend space. And it's right here under the Edit menu. Now you can see here that mine is set to Document RGB. Now that was set that way because I changed the intent to web rather than print. If I had chosen print, it would set it to CMYK. Now this is just basically telling InDesign how to handle transparent objects if we're including those in our design. We're not going to go much more into transparency blend space right now. Let's go ahead and click away from that here. Let me just go ahead and close this document out here. So let's talk about the interface, because in building interactive documents, we're going to be using a whole different set of panels that you may not have ever even seen here in InDesign before. So right now I'm using my Essentials workspace, just a few panels open here on the right, but let's jump up here to the workspace switcher, and let's go ahead and grab this interactive for PDF first here. Now, talking about output for our interactive files, InDesign is going to basically output the files in one of two manners. It's going to output them, one, to a PDF that can be viewed on our screen, or it's going to output them to a flash file. Now that flash file can be an SWF or a SWF file, something that is just intended to be viewed, or it can also output as an FLA file, which can be taken into Flash Professional and modified. So let's go ahead and explore some of these panels over here on the right in the interactive for PDF. Some of these you see, you may not have ever even looked at them before. We have things like the hyperlink panel, bookmarks. We have a buttons panel here, a media panel, and a preview panel, which doesn't seem to be giving us any kind of a preview right now. But we also have this sample buttons panel right here. It has lots of sort of default buttons that actually come with InDesign. So this is a set of panels that Adobe has deemed that you might need for working on an interactive PDF. Now, there's another interactive workspace up here. If we come over here, it's just called Interactive. If we open this one up, it's going to give us a lot more panels. Panels that actually aren't going to relate to a PDF. Some of the features that InDesign can build into an interactive document aren't going to be supported by PDFs. Things like animations, and a related panel to that, the timing panel, and object states. We're going to talk about all these in upcoming lessons, but you can see here there's a different set of panels here. Now, I'm going to go about kind of creating my own workspace. I don't like the fact that all these panels are divided into two, so I'm just going to set one up that is going to be sort of my preferred layout for working on an interactive document here. So let me go ahead and kind of work with this a little bit. We'll just kind of expand these out just a little. All right, let's collapse that one down. Now, the page transitions panel, I'm just going to kind of drag these around and reorder them here. Let's leave pages right there. I'm going to grab links, drag it up there. Let's grab swatches and bring it over here. Color, put that above swatches. Grab stroke and we'll throw that in there as well. I'm not going to need the gradient panel. We'll just right click on that tab and close that one. Let's come over here and grab hyperlinks and bookmarks. We'll drag those over here. And there's a sample buttons panel. I'm not going to use this at all, so let's go ahead and right click and close this. Alright, great. So we've kind of got this basic layout. We've got our pages panel up here. We've got our layers panel down below. We've got our links panel nested in the same group behind the pages panel. And then I've got some panels over here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and make a couple of changes here. I'm going to take my preview panel, drag it up to the very top of this column here so that I can open that up there. Let's come over here and drag the hyperlinks and bookmarks, and nest that between page transitions and the stroke color and swatches panel. And now I'm going to come in and open up just a few more panels here. These are panels that hopefully if you've been working in InDesign, you've used them quite a bit. They are the paragraph and character styles panels. And there we go. They're in a group all by themselves here. So I'll go ahead and drag that over. I'm going to nest that right there above the stroke color and swatches group. So I've got this nice set of panels here that I'm going to be working with. Now, if you want, you could leave them like this where they're fully expanded. You can actually read the names for each one of these panels. I actually have been using these a little while so I can recognize them just by their icons. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse that down right over here, just like so, giving me more space here to work in. Now, being that I have created kind of a custom group of panels here, we're going to need to save this new workspace. Before we do, though, I'm going to come over here to my Pages panel. I want to make a couple of changes to the way the pages are displayed. Let me just come to the Panel Flyout menu here and look at the panel options. And in here, I'm going to come over to Pages. I'm going to leave them on a medium size, but let's show them not show them vertically. I'll uncheck that. And for masters, I'm going to change those over to extra small, just so we can take up less room with those, and I'll leave those set to show vertically. So let me hit OK on that here. And now with those changes made, I'm going to go ahead and save this workspace. We'll drop the workspace switcher down, and I'll go ahead and say New Workspace. And I'm going to call this one My Interactive. I believe I actually already have a workspace titled that, but you can see here I'm saving panel locations and menu customization. So we'll say OK, and it's telling me that I've already got a workspace by that name, and I will hit OK to replace that. And now we have the My Interactive Workspace. So this is going to allow me to use one workspace to build either an interactive PDF or an interactive Flash file. Alright, great. So let me go ahead and hit Control-O to open up a file here. I'm going to grab this O2 Begin file. We're not actually going to do anything with this file at this moment here. I'm actually going to begin working on this file in the next lesson, but I wanted to talk to you briefly about kind of how this course is going to proceed from here on out. Now, anytime you're designing an interactive document in InDesign here, I think that it's really easy to get wrapped up in the interactive features that InDesign offers. I would highly recommend going ahead and getting the base design already down. Don't worry about the interactivity. You might be thinking about it in the back of your mind, thinking about how you might include interactivity as you're designing your project, but go ahead and build the actual design first. We can scroll through here and see that I've already laid out type here. I've already placed in images. I've got some graphics created. I've got most of the grunt work of creating this layout done. And really all that's left is to build the interactivity into it. So hopefully you've gone through several of our InDesign courses, maybe our Introduction to InDesign CS5 course, and you've gotten up to speed with things like frames and objects and styles, because this document actually includes all of those things. Now I want to take just a moment to talk to you about the fonts that are included in this particular file. Now I've used several fonts here, but I can't give those out in the project files to you because of licensing restrictions. So what I've included instead is a text file in your project files folder that you can look in, and you can actually find links so that you can go out and download each and every one of the fonts that I've used. I've used nothing but free fonts here, so go ahead and check your project files for that and grab those fonts if you want to be able to open this file here and work with it. Alright, great. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next lesson where we'll get started exploring the interactive features in InDesign by learning first about bookmarks.